Hello, AP World History students. This is Mrs. Longnecker coming to you with a short video introducing the short answer question. Short answer questions are part of the AP World History exam, so there's something that you will be practicing a lot of, something you will need to get good at. But the great thing about short answer questions is that they are a very common tool used in assessments in many different college courses and disciplines. So the skills that you're learning in this course on this particular style of question are some of the most transferable in terms of skills that you can use in other places later on. So let's start by talking about the AP exam specifically. The short answer questions, or the SAQs, as I'll be referring to them for the rest of this video and most of the rest of the year. On the AP exam specifically, there will be 3 SAQs, and these will assess both skills and content knowledge. So you have to have the skill of writing an effective short answer, but also you will have to have specific content knowledge that helps you to answer the particular question being asked. So they're double challenging in that way because you have to rely on both. Each short answer question will have 3 parts, part A, part B, and part C. It is to your advantage to answer each part separately and label each part clearly. So label part A, give your answer. Label part B, give your answer. Label part C, give your answer. Each part of an SAQ is scored separately. So if you don't earn the point on part A, you can still earn points on parts B and C. So it's a good idea to make sure you're answering each part as clearly as possible to give yourself the maximum opportunity to earn points later. And we'll talk more about ways to maximize your points at a later time. But for now, just know that you're going to be answering each part of the short answer question and labeling them specifically. For today, the examples I'm going to use will only have a part A, just to shorten and simplify things, but eventually we'll work our way up to having A, B, and C. The additional kind of factor to keep in mind on the SAQs is that you do have time and space limitations. On the AP exam, you will only have 12 minutes to answer A, B, and C for each of your SAQs, and you're limited to 1 page for A, B, and C combined for each of your short answer questions. So we'll be working our way towards those limitations in class as well. One of the ways to be really successful on the SAQ is to ACE it. I know, I'm having fun with the acronyms today, but ACE is an acronym that helps you remember what it is you need to do in order to be successful with your answer. The A stands for answer the question directly. In the case of short answer questions, it's okay to turn the question itself into part of your answer as long as you go beyond restating the question and give an answer to that question. The C is cite specific historical evidence as examples that answer the prompt. So once you've given a basic answer to the question, you're going to give at least 1 example, preferably not more than 2 because of space, but you're going to give at least 1 example that supports your answer to the prompt. And then the E of ACE is to expand or explain your answer to make sure that your reasoning is complete. Readers can only give credit for the words that you write on the page, not knowledge they assume you have or meaning that they can infer. We need to know exactly what you mean, so you do need to expand a little bit in your answer. Looking at this acronym, ACE, I can see that an answer to an SAQ should be 2 to 3 sentences long. Your A could be its own sentence, your C could be a separate sentence, and your E could be a final sentence. Or A and C could come together, and then your E would be a separate sentence that elaborates on that. So let's take a look at an example together. Here's just a fun sample SAQ, and I want you to take a moment and write your own response using that ACE acronym. So pause the video here, take a moment to write your own answer. Hopefully you have written out your own answer and you can see how it compares to the sample answer that I'm about to show you. So here's my sample answer. Sophomore year is more difficult than freshman year. There are more advanced classes available to sophomores, including AP World History, and these classes require a lot more organization, time management, and effort to keep straight A's. So, in my mind, I've done what this prompt requires. I've identified and explained one way that sophomore year differs from freshman year. And let me show you how this matches up with ACE. So my A, I answered the question. So what's one way that sophomore year differs from freshman year? Sophomore year is more difficult than freshman year. That's my first sentence. Now in this example, I've actually combined C and E into my second sentence, where I said there are more advanced classes available to sophomores, including AP World History. There's my specific example, and here's my explanation. These classes require a lot more organization, time management, and effort to keep straight A's. So you don't have to write very much. These are short answer questions, but you can cram a lot of info and thoughtfulness into a brief response. So now let's try a different example. This is the same example that was used in class. So if you have your handout from class, you can follow along with us to do this. Otherwise, you may want to find in your textbook the writings of Master Hanfei, and I've forgotten the page number, but it's in the back of chapter 4 in the documents section. Or if you've got a nice big computer screen, you may be able to read along with me here. But the question is, identify and explain one way that the Qin government used legalism to rule. This is a tricky question because it's requiring you to use knowledge from Qin Dynasty China, and you need to know specifically what is legalism. So hopefully at this point you're caught up with your reading in chapter 4 so far, and you can use this document, the writings of Master Hanfei, to give you some examples. So pause the video, read through the document, and see if you can write an answer that aces this SAQ. All right, hopefully you've actually paused the video and taken the time to answer the question. Let me talk you through what I was thinking about when I answered this question. So, as I read the writings of Master Hanfei, I remembered that legalism is a Chinese philosophy that the Qin dynasty used in particular that relied on law and punishment to keep people in line. So in particular, I noticed this phrase, the law does not fawn on the noble. Whatever the law applies to, the wise cannot reject, nor can the brave defy. Punishment for fault never skips ministers, reward for good never misses commoners. To me, those two sentences give me the basis of what I hope is a really strong answer to this SAQ. So here's my answer. One way that the Qin government used legalism to rule, so I've restated the question there in order to lead into my answer, was by creating laws that applied to all people equally. So that right there is my A, my answer to the question. Unlike the laws of Mesopotamia, specific example, there was no distinction between nobles and commoners in terms of the law. All had to obey the law equally. The writings of Hanfei, specific example, and relating back to the document, specifically state that those who obeyed were rewarded, while those who broke the laws were punished harshly. So in this case, I've used 3 sentences to answer the question. It's a little bit longer than my freshman-sophomore example. I had to cram in a little bit more content knowledge, but I've remained concise, I've used clear vocabulary, and I've responded to what the prompt is asking for. So this answer would satisfy the requirements of Part A on that document. On your own, I would encourage you to try acing parts B and C. Give those a try and maybe compare with a friend or have your parents look it over and see, did you answer the question? Did you cite an example? And have you explained your reasoning sufficiently that your ideas are clear in just 2 to 3 sentences? We will continue working on SAQs in the future, so if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask them in class, and I'll be back with another video the next time we work on this.